Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the show. I'm getting feedback. Sorry, just give me a second here. Oh, that's better. Yeah, welcome to the show, everyone. Trevor, it's so good to see you and all of your little friends.
Hello, good to see you. So yes, these are my dolls.
I see that.
I actually don't care much for dolls, so she's like, yeah. So I actually won these in an auction. I thought it was hilarious. I got them for like $5. I got like a whole box of them. I don't even have all. I can't get all of them on me. But yeah. So maybe haunted, maybe not. I don't know. So
maybe haunted, maybe not. Are they moving in the middle of the night? Do you hear little footprints, like footsteps?
No, so far I've kept them in a box in the garage. So they haven't even been. This is the first time they've been inside. So
I'd keep them in the garage too. Or in the fire.
My daughter asked. My daughter didn't know I had them, and she's like, "Can I have these?" I mean, yeah, sure, why not? Put them in your room. I don't care. Let me know if anything happens. So.
Put them in your room. Close the door. Stay there.
Yeah. So it's interesting, though. I know you were talking about haunted dolls last week, and we're talking about them this week. And it's interesting the kind of the fixation that we have when it comes to haunted dolls. To me, I don't think there's anything creepier than like an inanimate doll that would like move on its own.
Yeah.
If anything gives me the heebie-jeebies, that would be it. So and I don't know why. I don't understand why I find it so disconcerting. So, but there's a lot of that one's moving.
Okay, well, we got at least one haunted doll going on down there.
Look, no hands.
No hands. Okay. That's actually pretty good.
I may or may not have a little helper over here to the side.
Yeah, I literally just clued in that might be happening. Too funny. Yeah,
this is a good thing to keep in mind when people are watching YouTube videos and things like that, and they're looking at dolls. You don't know what you can see off screen. So,
Well, yeah, and I mean, I do have a couple of videos, that people had sent. Well, it's actually one video with a few clips in it. But, you're right. Like, people have a huge fascination with haunted dolls or haunted objects in general. There used to be that one show, about that guy who would look for haunted objects and then he would confiscate them. Do we remember that one?
Yep. The haunted collector.
What's that? Yes, yeah. And I found it always funny how the things that he collected were worth like thousands of dollars every time. I found that.
Yeah, I did actually, and it's funny that you mentioned that the worth of a haunted doll, because it, like, they had on Etsy. I remember I was scrolling through Etsy, and I think I was looking for our friend Peter's. He has an Etsy store, and I was looking at it, and I didn't know the name of it, so I was just kind of looking up haunted, paranormal stuff, and somebody selling haunted dolls came up on it, and they were selling them for like thousands of dollars. I was like, what on earth? And each of the doll had a little story that went with it, like that. And I thought, what a racket. Because I could take all these dolls and I could write a story too. Maybe I can sell them for thousands of dollars. I mean, just don't get duped.
We might have to delete this episode first before you do that. Too funny. Yeah, no, it's true though. Like that's the thing. People don't know how much they're, like, how do you prove that they're haunted? I mean, literally, unless the doll is getting up and doing some sort of like dance in front of a camera on its own without being a marionette. How do you know that this is actually a haunted doll? I think you're frozen.
Yeah.
I think you're into.
I kind of am going in and out. I'm not sure what's going on. I might have to kick some of my kids off the internet. So.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have it. Yeah, I logged on like at the last second, and I didn't have a chance to run tests on everything.
No worries. No worries. I'm gonna just show one of these videos here. So this first one is apparently this creepy clown. And it is, so what they did is they actually put it into a chair. They put it into a chair and put a camera on it, and there is some movement. So guys, I'm gonna have to, like, I have to close it down, and then I have to stop it and restart it, just so that we don't get, infringement or copyright nonsense or whatever it is. So I'm gonna have to go back and forth a little bit on it, but just give me a second, and I'm gonna start to play this. Hang on a second. Share screen. Okay. Okay, just give me a minute here. Can you guys see this? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you watch the doll's head, you can start to see where it moves a little bit. Like, you might see little bits of it, but I'm going to actually just fast forward it a little bit, simply because of the fact, again, copyright infringement, something like that. But it does have a speeded up version in here. So you can even see now, like, from where it was before, he was looking a little bit more down before, and now he's looking up. And here's 3 times.
Yeah.
Speed. That.
So, is this a haunted doll caught on tape? Let me know what you think down in the comments.
So here's the thing with this one, is what I feel. Just a sec. Let me go back here. Okay. So the thing is with this one is, when I look at this particular clip, this is recorded over a particular, like, a few hours of time. It's not like within a few seconds or anything like that. And the movement is very, very, very subtle. It's very small. It's not like exaggerated like some of the ones that we see. It doesn't have, what we showed one last week, Lynda, not last week, the week before. Lynda and I showed this one where, there was so much cutting in and cutting out and spooky music and all kinds of nonsense like that, that it was really not like, you're basically just showing me a camera that's going boom, 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 boom. Like, that means nothing to me, right? But
Right.
when you do look at this one, I
Right.
like the fact that it was recorded over a few hours of time, and the movements are so small and so slight, and you know what I mean? And but at the same time, from what you can tell, there's no obvious cutting of besides some of the movements, but you know what I mean? It just feels like more
Well,
organic, I
and
guess.
yeah, not only that, but the fact that the movements are bidirectional. So you're not getting like an over the time where the doll is slowly like sagging, settled down because of gravity. You're getting a doll that's lifting, it's lifting its head, it's looking down, it's looking up. It's kind of, so that's interesting too. And the fact, again, the movements are so subtle. I'm really kind of curious the story behind that doll, as far as why they were filming it in the first place. Because most people wouldn't notice that subtle of a movement to begin with, even if it was just, it's because we're talking just kind of like a fraction of an inch. If you leave a doll in one spot and it moves a fraction of an inch, I don't think that most people would pay attention to that. So it's kind of.
So I don't believe that he actually told the story of it, from what I remember. It was just a fact of, this doll is haunted. Clive the Clown is his name. And that was, pretty much where it was. So this next one is actually really interesting. I found it very interesting. I'm going to kind of fast forward some of it, but the premise behind it is, they're recording the girl doing a cup stacking thing, and they don't see until later the background. So if you sort of watch the background, you'll see what I mean.
Curious doll. Some kids are filming their sister do a cup stacking challenge. But little do they know, they've gotten the attention of something else on the shelf behind them.
So that I find very interesting. You know what I mean? Like I do. I find that that's very, but I mean, it's hard to say. Is there somebody behind there? Is there, is this thing, is there string attached to it or whatever, or rope attached or whatever? You know what I mean? Like it's hard to tell what that is. But I do think at the very least it's a fun joke. If it's not,
we don't have the other problem I have. The only problem I have with that one is, I mean, I would like to look into it definitely, but the issue that I have with that video is that we don't have a clear picture of depth of what's, how close. Like, is that entertainment stand? Is that pushed all the way against the wall? Could somebody be back there going, kind of like I had Melanie down here, moving the doll just out of sight. I mean, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt for sure. I mean, it is really cool. There was one I was actually going to send you, and I didn't run it. I didn't have a chance to do it. I'll try to see if I can find it again and send it your way. See if we can get it on there. But did you see the one with it was from Mexico? Little girl playing with a couple dolls in the living room. There's a doll off to the side that starts moving, but there's a whole series of events that follow it.
No, I did not.
Let me see if I can. I'll get you I'll send it to us real quick. So, but
this one I found kind of interesting.
Anyway,
too. I'll let you
so
that one.
I'm kind of curious, like the anatomy of a haunted doll. What's that?
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
You think you found it?
What were you saying? What?
Well, what is the anatomy of a haunted doll? I mean, what's going on with it? These are inanimate objects, right? They don't have tendons, they don't have muscle, they don't have, there's no means of actually them moving on their own, is what I'm saying.
Right. They don't even have like
I think there's kind of this misconception.
This next one is actually like it's called
Sorry,
composition doll.
Oh, okay.
We're off sync here, Trevor.
I'm sorry. I think it's my internet. I apologize.
It's okay. So this next one is a composition doll, and the composition dolls were made with sawdust and something else. So there's literally nothing in there. There's no mechanism. There's no, steel or levers or anything like that can make the doll move, which I find, again, is really interesting, right? So like you said, what is making these dolls move? This one here, you'll be able to kind of see as well. And this doll is made of sawdust and something else. You can see where its arms move on its own. But the thing is again, without really having a good span of the whole room or anything else, how do we know that this is really anything? Like there's no proof behind it. There's no, you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, for sure. I found that one. Yay.
Okay, sure. Send it to me and we can I can put it up here on just send it to our yeah.
Yep. Sending it to our messenger.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
And I've watched most of this one a few times, and it's kind of interesting because it seems to all be filmed with like in-home like, Nest cameras or whatever, the security cameras. Like I have Nest cameras in my house that just got to look in the rooms and stuff all the time. So it's kind of interesting, and it's all seems to be centered around this one little girl. So.
All 5 of them? Okay. Here, hang on.
It should just be the first one.
Okay.
Is the one I was kind of talking about here.
Here we go. Is there no sound on this?
Wait a minute. Did I send you the wrong one?
No, I don't know.
I did. I sent you. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's why is it? That is the That is the. I guess that is the one. I just have to figure out where it's at.
Wrong one or the right one?
This is the right one. I just got to find. I'll tell you. I'll see if I can find where it's at, where she's at.
Oh, okay.
So we are at. Go to 7 minutes and 4 seconds.
Okay.
You're about the 7 minute mark.
7 minute mark.
Oh wait, hold on. 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay. Hang on.
6:30. 6:30. Let's do 6:30. I love live TV. This is great.
6:30, you said?
Yeah. Some of them other ones might be pretty interesting too, but this was the clip that I thought was kind of interesting. So. So we talk about those real subtle movements.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Yeah.
See how the hair going up? Kind of tilting the head.
Okay, so wait a minute. I got to ask first of all. Why is she recording her kid playing with this? Like, why is she recording? Like, did they have issues with this doll ahead of time, or did they say?
I don't know, but like I said, I think that they have basically like security cameras in the house. Like I have Nest the Nest brand cameras, so I've got a camera that looks in my living room. I have a camera in my loft, kitchen, places like that, and they're always recording. So I can always, like, if I'm at work, I can look at my kids and things like that. So I kind of think that's what this is. Okay. Because you know how it says Cam 1 down there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
So she's at least got a few kicking around, or this family has at least a few probably.
Yeah.
Kicking around. Okay. All right. Hang on. Let's see what's going on here.
But I do believe there's been things that have been going on, if I remember, on this story. So, because this is kind of some of the stuff that's happening to this kid.
Oh. Okay, that's really interesting. So, I'm stopping it also for copyright purposes because you're only allowed to have so much, I think. But that's interesting because the window doesn't even blow. Like the curtains aren't blowing at all.
Well, so there's just a solid wall right across. There's a wall right across with a TV. Now, I thought that perhaps there could be a fan that would be there, but the only thing that moves is the papers. Right?
Yeah, because if the fan was strong enough, if the fan was strong enough to move those papers, chances are her hair would move. Maybe that picture would fall down. The curtains might even possibly move. Like there would be more movement, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. If you were to continue to play, there's some more. Yeah. So she sees it and she's gone. But then.
Okay, hang on a sec. Oh. Well, that's interesting. Oh, no way. Oh, shit. Well, that would be a time to move, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But this is kind of, the interesting thing is how it was, if indeed that was some sort of spirit that was doing all that, I mean, it's clearly they're not like living inside the dolls, they're not possessing the dolls, or they're manipulating them like a human would, right? Because that's the only way that they can be manipulated. They move them around, they give them the appearance of being possessed and moving on their own. So
okay, so that is something to talk about. What do you okay, because like we said, we just mentioned, like, how are these dolls moving? There's no mechanism in there. There's nothing to create that movement. Like, I could see on a marionette, or I could see, with a ventriloquist doll, there's levers, and there's strings and whatever it is that would help, I guess, a spirit to create the movement. But so is this doll sitting on, the lap of a spirit, and the spirit's just like moving the little hands or doing what, like, you know what I'm getting at? Like, how, because when we think about it, really, spirit, I mean, unless it's demonic or something like that, well, even still, it's probably got hands and legs and face and all of that. So there's still that movement, but how is it being created, right? And so, is it the doll that's haunted, or is it the environment? I
and that's the big question, because I ask the same thing when we talk about like haunted, any haunted object. So,
yeah.
Any haunted object, is it, again, we talk about spiritual attachments to things, and people, I mean, there's some weird things that spirits seem to be attached to for some, it really kind of goes way over my head when it comes to that. But I think it's got to be an environment. I have to lean towards it's the environment. It's not just that thing, but there's something else in the environment that's enabling this to give the appearance that it's that thing.
Right.
But or then we talk about things that move from place to place.
The doll. What's that?
Yeah. Patrick the doll. Yeah. Patrick the doll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like attached to the doll, but so it goes with the doll, maybe, but it's not the doll, is what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Yeah.
Except for maybe,
it's really bizarre, because if you're a spirit, then why would you attach to that particular thing? Why would you choose to be attached to a doll?
Right, unless you're dealing with some sort of voodoo, hoodoo, or some sort of spell or witchcraft, or some like a dark type of magic, right? Not that voodoo,
which is, again, that's like way over my head.
I was just saying, I don't want a bunch of emails saying that voodoo's not dark. I never said it was dark. I'm just saying that there are spells in all of it, right? Whether it's witchcraft or voodoo that are darker, and it doesn't mean that particular whatever is a dark. Witchcraft doesn't always have to be dark. It's not dark. There's dark spells, or there's dark spells in voodoo, or dark spells in hoodoo. Like that's what I mean, right?
Right.
Because chances are, last thing we want is a bunch of freaking comments on here going,
it's all about how you use it.
Right. It's the same thing like a Ouija board.
Right? So.
Yeah. And I mean, and in reality, if you look at Ouija boards to a haunted doll or a haunted object, it's kind of the same thing. It's the intention behind it, but also too, I mean, is it the Ouija board that's haunted, or is it the environment, or you open the door to allow something to come through? Are you not sort of doing that same thing with the particular doll? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's a really good point. I mean, I think I think you're kind of hitting it right on the head where, I think it's a means to communicate, or in a lot of instances, I think it's a means to scare you. When we talk about, especially malevolent spirits or demonic spirits that are trying to cause that fear because they're trying to wear you down. They're trying to,
Right.
drive you crazy so that, they're playing those mental games with you. And, what better way of doing that than giving you something visual to focus on, you know? So, yeah,
That's an
I don't know.
excellent point. That's an excellent point because really, when we're talking about malevolent hauntings, for instance, that is exactly the purpose behind them, right? It's like, I know people are going to argue with me about this, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I could care less. Uh, this is my experience. I have never ran into a ghost child. About the closest I've ever come is probably your video, or your audio that we heard where,
The
that child
by
was in the
data.
basement.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all of the children that I personally have come across as a medium and as a paranormal investigator were all there as a means to an end. Basically, that, if I pretend I'm a child, uh, I'm going to be allowed in this house. I'm going to be permitted to stay as long as I don't cause trouble, or whatever it is, whatever the narrative behind that allowance of staying is going to be, right? And a lot of
Right.
times this happens because a lot of, especially women, we're so, oh my gosh, it's a child ghost. I can't turn it away. So come on in and do this and do that. But, as long as you behave, right? Well, that behavior lasts for only so long, and I mean, it's all, you know, um, everybody has a different, thought processes. What is behave? You know, does behave mean
Yep.
don't murder my children in the middle of the night, or does behave mean, don't knock over the glassware and don't cause any sort of tricks, right? So,
Hmm.
this is where we have to look at it. But, I'm thinking, um, same thing with the dolls. We allow them into the house because they look innocent. Well, not some of these haunted dolls, they look pretty freaking scary, to be honest, right?
Well,
But
and it,
the
you
premise
know,
behind them.
yeah. Well, and it's interesting too because when we look at like, so the whole premise behind the Annabelle doll, and I'm sure you talked about this last, 'cause
Yeah,
arguably the most famous or at least well known haunted doll, which turned out to be nothing. She looks nothing like the real doll. Looks nothing like the one in the movies, right? Um, because
we actually got
Annabelle,
a picture of her here. Hang on a
yeah,
second.
she,
Let me
she's just
just
she's just a Raggedy Ann doll,
yeah.
and there's nothing creepy about a Raggedy Ann doll at
So
all,
you've got
you know.
so you've got the real face, like the real face, meaning, the,
Yeah,
movie face, and then you've got the real face, and yeah, she looks exactly like a Raggedy Ann doll, and I
yep.
mean, she's very innocent looking.
Hmm.
Although
But
I will tell you, I would have, like, the thing is, a lot of people, they think that they can disrespect some of these dolls, and that I don't believe in. I do not believe in, same with Robert, this one here. We talked about him, I think, last time too. And,
mhm,
there are some that I do think have deserve their respect. And I'm gonna leave them at that. Like, I'm gonna give them the respect that they're wanting from us. I'm definitely, that would be something that I wouldn't bugger with, if that makes sense.
yeah. Well, and that's just it. You don't know what's manipulating the doll, and if you're not prepared, yeah, it's like anything else. We talk about investigators asking, inviting the spirits in the room to touch them or to, to enter, stuff like that. You don't know what you're really asking for. And whatever it is, if you're going to provoke, if you're going to, try to intimidate or, otherwise, somehow disrespect a spirit, you don't know who or what that spirit is or exactly what it is that they're capable of. Yeah, you might get more than you bargained for. So, we have a very strict rule on our team. We don't provoke, we don't intimidate. Our jobs, that's not what our jobs are. Our jobs are to try to gather tangible evidence of claims of hauntings. And, we look for, the plausible and stuff. And, if we're going into people's homes or businesses and we are provoking and intimidating and making things worse, I mean, we don't know what we're pulling down on the people that got to be there that next day and the day after and the year after. So, but when it comes to dolls, it's kind of interesting because I mean, we start looking. Oh yeah. There was that one show that was their whole thing. Their whole goal was to provoke whatever was there. That was their theory. It's like, we're going to provoke it into doing something, I just, I disagree with that philosophy. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that, because not only are you provoking, you don't know. I mean, I go into somebody's house and I start provoking something. I might be provoking somebody's grandmother or mother, or, somebody's loved one. I mean, this is not, I don't think that's cool.
I mean, it's totally disrespectful for one, but like you said, I mean, that's a really good point. You're leaving these poor people with, you don't even know what kind of, I remember, so we've had back, back in the day, we would have people that would say, well, we tried emailing you, and our computer would shut down, or our emails wouldn't go through, or the server went offline, and we would spend like an hour trying to email you. And, and for us, that was really telling that whatever was in their home did not want to have an investigation because it was going to be discovered of what it was. And we heard this quite a few times, like not every time, but you could always tell, like this thing that we were going to be heading into probably had a malevolent background of some sort, or a more negative presence, rather than it being. And sure enough, once we got into the story, we usually found out that it had some sort of negativity, that was attached to it, right? And you think to yourself, what gives me the right to walk into this person's house and stir up a hornet's nest? Like, I don't have the right to do that. And then to leave them with that mess that I just created, and that it's just ignorant and rude. But unfortunately, we all have, every city has that one team that will do that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And and that's, why you got to really research the people that you're letting into your homes or your place of business. Don't just let anybody that claims to be a ghost hunter in there. We had on our Facebook page, it was early. Our page had been up for a little while, but we were starting to get quite a few followers, and this one gal started posting about some activity that they were having, and was thinking about having an investigation. Well, this other person who was just on our Facebook page all of a sudden started talking to her on our Facebook page, asking her questions, and then all of a sudden started sending her private messages saying, "Hey, I'll come in and investigate." And it was not one of our team members. And we hunted that down real quick, and we banned him and explained to that person, it's like, this guy is not us. I don't know who that is. Don't. Well, I mean, it's so you just never know who's out there.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because we get, as a psychic and as a medium, we get people that do that to clients, right? And sometimes they pretend to be us, even like there's lots of fake accounts, and we'll get people that like, so a legitimate, just for the people out there that are listening, a legitimate psychic medium or a private investigator will never solicit a private residence or a person in order to gain a client, or in order to gain notoriety, or in order to give you a reading because your ancestors have a message for you. That will never happen, not if they are legitimate. Occasionally, a paranormal investigator might go to a business or a haunted location and ask about that. And we've all done that. We've all gone to places where we've heard that there is a haunting going on and just inquired about it. But as far as a private residence goes, no, we're not going to do that. That's never going to happen with a legitimate group. Never. Or a legitimate psychic medium. Ever. Never. Ever. Ever. Never.
Yeah, hopefully not. I mean, and it's hard because there's a lot of places. I get a lot of people that will say, "Hey, have you checked out this place, this house over here? I know that, I've heard so many stories." I say, "Oh yeah, I haven't checked that place out." "Oh, you guys should totally do this." Like, yeah, well, unless you know them and want to have them give us a call.
Right. Yeah. Like if you want to pass on the message.
Yeah, if you pass on the message, that'd be awesome. But yeah, we don't solicit private residents at all. So, and I only go and I solicit businesses that typically allow patrons to walk in anyway. So it's not like I'm just going into somebody's private office. And it's like, hey, what's up? Because that would just be rude too. I try not to interrupt business too much. So,
so I have a question. So, okay, so with the haunted dolls, we can understand as to why they might be possibly possessed or have a spirit or have an attachment. And, quite honestly, when we look at the dolls, I mean, they're human-like, right? So you can kind of understand where a spirit might get attached to a doll. You might understand where a more negative or even a demonic spirit, might try to use that doll for to gain entrance into a place or whatever it is, or maybe even being trapped into that particular doll. Again, if we're looking into more of the darker magic. But why would a candlestick be haunted? Or like, or a regular, general object. Like, what do you think that this is like an influx of residual energy, or do you think that maybe the spirit was attached to it at some point in time? But like like going back to that TV show, The Haunted Collector, or whatever it was. But we hear about this quite often, even if we, going to flea markets, for instance, or garage sales, and maybe perhaps picking up a particular item. Do you think that that's an actual spirit, or do you think it's the energy attached to it, or what are your thoughts?
I think it's case dependent. I think it could be all of the above. I mean, I think it just kind of depends. I mean, what is the object made out of? First of all,
right.
Is it something that is able to hold some form of energy? That's where they talk about things like we talk about residual hauntings, and what is the building made out of? What is it built on? Is it they talk about a source of water or running water that's underneath the building, things that contain energy. Limestone is a big one. Mercury is a big one. Different types of precious metals are allegedly able to hold those energies. I like the example of the old mercury mirrors, when mirrors were still made of mercury, and they were basically just giant batteries that could hold energy. I mean, that's what they were. And so there was a lot of associated residual hauntings around those. When it comes to specific objects, what was the object used for? Was it a candlestick that bludgeoned somebody to death?
The candlestick by Mr. Peach in the library.
Bingo. So I mean, and I think there's a lot to do with that too. I mean, something that was maybe used in some sort of ritual, or
Right.
who knows. I mean, I think that there's a lot of different conditions that can put negative energy around certain things. Or maybe, in the case of, like, we talk about, demonic and inhuman spirits. I mean, these are creatures that have never had a human body. They've never walked, on the earth as a person, and maybe they take these dolls that look so human and kind of utilize them as their human body and try to act out whatever it is that they're doing, I guess. I don't know. So
so this is an interesting one. I've actually got a video here, and this actually shows, I'll just put it up here. Hang on a second. I got to figure out what I'm doing again. I think I finally figured out, like, the screen share thing. It doesn't always come to me.
You just need to do it more often, and then, it'll be like second nature.
And then it'll start being more natural. But the premise behind this particular video is this little girl, I guess, got a new doll, and she called it lovely or adorable or something like that. And the doll in the background is her old doll that she normally plays with, but since she got a new doll, she's now playing with this one. And so I'll just kind of play a little bit of this here.
Oh, it's so cute.
The movement occurs right after the little girl refers to her new doll as, quote, lovable.
Lovable? Sure his name isn't like Fred or Henry?
The mom doesn't even notice the haunted doll moving while filming. Later on, when the whole family is watching the video, she notices that a candle rolls across the counter just above her daughter's head. But that's all.
So, hang on a second.
However, her young son was freaked out. He points out to his mom the doll's bizarre hand movement just before the candle moves in the scary video. 100-year-old doll.
So I do find that kind of interesting. Now here's the thing. Was there something attached to that candle or the move? But I mean, the way that the doll moved, it was very smooth movement. I don't know.
And we have two different movements going on too. Two different, and I'm not saying that it can't be pulled off, but I think it's a lot more elaborate when you have things moving different directions, and different types of things that are moving like that. But again, it is all interesting as well when we talk about the possibility of attachments to these dolls being used as their human bodies, right? Because now maybe these things are this is in their minds, it's their way of living kind of a human life, maybe, to an extent. And they are enjoying the company of being loved and doted on and played with this little girl. And all of a sudden, this other doll's coming in, and she's now going to ignore the other one, and maybe that spirit, hey, wait, what the heck? I'm losing my playmate, I don't know. It's
so now kind of another weird question. We know about poltergeists, right? And we know that poltergeists are really just a regeneration of our own energy, especially when we're in a heightened state. And most of the time it's usually women that have created the poltergeist type of spirit or entity or whatever it is, energy. Right. What if in some of these instances, these little girls are playing with these dolls? Could possibly they be creating through the play or through whatever it is that they're doing, that this has been a poltergeist creation?
I think that's entirely plausible. I mean that the whole thing of the with the poltergeist activity is that telekinetic energy that's moving objects, right? It's opening and closing doors. I mean, it's sliding things off of tables. Absolutely, I think it's entirely plausible that it could be something like that. Something that's
because you think
subconsciously
about it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, something that's just in their subconscious. That's happening. Maybe that's. I don't see why not. So
right?
some of the ones that I've seen, I kind of, I think it would make sense in some circumstances, and I think it doesn't make sense in others. You've seen the
Probably
one with the
case
girl
by case again, like going back to
video, and I don't know if it, again, I'm looking at one video that's a few seconds, and so I mean trying to ascertain whether it's real or it's not real is really difficult. But the one with the girl that she gets the new doll for like her birthday or something like that, and she's holding it, it turns its head and looks at her.
Oh yeah,
you seen that
one? Yeah.
So I mean something like that where it's like there's no I wouldn't see why that would have been like a something like that. I wouldn't consider more poltergeist like activity. The one with the little girl getting the new doll, if she had a huge emotional attachment to that other doll, I could see that totally being plausible though, for sure. So
let me see if I can put this video up. I don't know if I can because I think it might be I know that Lynda had sent it, but it might be just like a meme or something. You know what I mean? So I might not.
Oh, well, I think I can. If you don't have it, I think I actually I saw it a little while ago when I was scrolling trying to find the other one. I thought maybe you'd pulled that one though, because that's one of the ones that come up real quick. It's another one of the 5 haunted caught on camera. Yeah. I had to turn down my volume here.
Where is it?
Okay, so this one's going to be at. All right, I'm going to share this one with you real quick.
Okay.
And then you're going to be at 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
2 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, hang on a second. Let me just get it up here. Whoops. It's going to be super loud. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Okay, pause. Okay, hang on. I just got to go into that one. Is it 5 haunted dolls? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anytime I type in like most haunted dolls moving, it gives me like the top 5, top 10, all these things.
Yeah, this is it. Okay. 1 second. Here we go.
This girl you see was just standing in front of a camera. She was probably telling a story about her favorite doll. Check out the size of that doll, guys. It's almost the size of the girl. Okay, so nothing extraordinary. But then we see the doll slowly turning its head and staring at the girl. If I was that girl, I would probably shit a brick. It doesn't seem like she's faking
And she kind of does.
She's genuinely terrified. Did you see that girl's face when she saw the doll move? Well, I don't know what the hell happened there. What do you guys think? Is she making it up? Or do you think this doll is possessed?
Her face is way too real for that to be faked.
I think that, and that's just it. I think that was a genuine reaction. I mean, she didn't. I mean, if you actually watch it where the guy's not like slowing it down and playing it back, I mean, it happens, and then it takes like a couple seconds for it to register with the girl that's holding it, and then I mean, she just, she chucks it and she's gone, and it's just like, holy cow.
No,
so,
thank you.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, but again, I think that's more of something that's trying to actually send a message, trying to scare people,
right?
If that's the deal. So, but no, I think there, and that's just it. I mean, that's why it's the whole paranormal field is really fascinating because nothing's really been figured out yet. And every time we think we're like getting close to an answer on something, it's like, well, about 100 more questions start opening up. 100 more possibilities, you know, and
Yeah.
we have no idea. And anybody that tells you otherwise, they're lying because they
I
don't
was
know.
literally just going to say that, because even in my profession, right, people will be like, oh, well, how come you don't know this? Well, because we only go by the information that we received. I would be very, very skeptical of a psychic medium that was like, I know it all. I am blah, blah, blah. You know, I'd be like, okay, well, we've got some issues, honey. We've got to talk. You know, I'd be very, very skeptical of that, right?
Well, and it's even like somebody, I can't remember who it was, that asked me that if I considered myself an expert on the paranormal. And I hesitated on answering it because, you know, it's like, I said, I consider myself a professional when it comes to the paranormal. I don't know that there are any experts on the paranormal because, again, nobody's been able to take a ghost and put it in a jar and show it to the whole world. It's like, here's my ghost, here's the proof, this is how, and then
except on Zelda, the Zelda video game, you have a Poe in a jar. That's about it.
We got the Poe in the jar. Here it is. You know, the hardest part about the paranormal field, you know, especially from a scientific standpoint, when you talk about science, you know, because if you have certain conditions and you apply certain conditions to those conditions, you should get a certain result. And we don't get that in the paranormal world because we're dealing with spirit, a conscious spirit, right? That can choose to do this or choose to do that, and can act completely irrationally or completely rationally, or it could be different spirits that we don't even realize. There's multiple of them. You know, there's just so many variables that we don't understand. And I'm hoping someday that we will. Someday maybe it'll be super simple and people are going to be like, oh yeah, this is, you know, I mean, you know, 200 years ago, if we showed somebody a smartphone, we would have been burned at the stake, you know, for double worshiping and, you know, stuff like that. This is black magic box here that,
right.
So, I mean, you know, hopefully, you know, the technology is getting better, you know, and along with the technology getting better, the ability to hoax things is getting better as well, which just makes our jobs all the more difficult. You know, I love the YouTube videos and the stuff that people send in, but you got to take it with a grain of salt too. I mean, even the video with the girl with the doll that's turned its head, I still got to go like, well, could it be staged? Yeah, that could have been staged.
Of course it could. Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
you know, there's many different ways, especially nowadays. I mean, there's many different ways of creating the illusion of all of these movements, really, quite honestly, you know.
It's really easy to take apart a doll
and
you can
technology.
I mean, there's some really smart people out there that can create like little robotic actuators and stuff to make it and put it inside of, because most dolls' bodies are relatively hollow, and you can just put stuff in there and they can make a move, and people watching would not be the wiser. So it's tough, you know. It's really, really tough, especially if you have the legitimate thing and then trying to like, hey, this is real, and then everybody's like, so
yeah, absolutely. I remember there was a doll. I'd have to ask Pete about it, because he knew that my goat was really up about this one particular doll. I will have to ask him at one point. But there was this one doll, this one guy was trying to get away with, you know, saying that it was haunted, and he, you know, he was terrified of it, but yet he had it watching freaking movies with him, but he was scared of it. Oh, but then I'm going to feed it pizza, but I'm scared of it. And then I'm going to do this, but I'm scared of it. And I was just like, buddy, you were so full of crap. And I remember getting into like a really huge like battle with him on the internet about it. I wish I could remember the name of this doll and what it was about. But this was quite a few years ago. You know, it's probably at least 10 years ago. And Pete was just laughing at me because I don't think he's ever seen my at that point he hadn't seen me get that angry about something, but I was just so angry with this guy and this fake doll. And I think the reason I was so upset was the fact that he was trying to sell it for thousands of dollars, right? And so, you know, it was a scam, you know, and of course, you know, you get the people on both sides, the ones that have no clue, and they're like, oh, you know, he's legitimate, he's this, and you're just like, you are stupid. I can't deal with you. I'm going here. You know, like it was, but you know, they were fully okay with somebody getting scammed, you know, by thousands of dollars by collecting this doll or buying this doll that, you know, this guy created. And he pretty much like you said, probably just had this doll sitting around in some old box or took it from his kid and claimed that it was haunted.
Exactly. Well, it's when we talked about the my little doll here. When we talked about the Etsy people that, you know, are writing stories. I mean, how easy would it be to come up with to make up a story, to go along with this doll, and say it's haunted, right? Hey, I'm haunted. Yeah. You know,
I'm haunted. Buy me for $5,000. I'm haunted.
$5,000. Yeah. You know, and again, I think what it is that there are people who are so enamored by the paranormal, and they want that conversation piece. They want that attention. Yeah. It was like, check this out. You know, they want to have their friends over, and it's good entertainment, and that's all it is. Entertainment. You bought yourself a $5,000 toy. You know, that doesn't do anything other than you get to tell a story about it that isn't probably real. You know, and that's unfortunate because there are the real deals out there. But it just makes it that much harder to believe it, that they're out there, you know? So it sucks. I mean, if I ever catch anybody hoaxing evidence, man, I'm going to slap them upside the head. So
hard. I was so angry. I was so angry. It was so funny. And I went back down from this. I was like, you know, because it was so ridiculous. And this guy was trying to sell this doll for some exuberant amount of money. And, you know, it was just not, but all the things that he said were so contradictory, you know, and that's what really got me angry. Because if you're scared of something, you're scared of something. You don't have it sitting next to you watching a horror movie, giving it a slice of pizza.
I don't know. I kind of do that with my wife. I mean, I love her, but I'm terrified of her.
Your wife is a doll, so you're gonna see your hand coming through the curtain right away, being like,
"Yeah, I know. I'm actually waiting for it too." You know.
We're gonna see it. We're gonna see it on the screen here, like one of the horror movies where you got that hand coming through that curtain at the back, strangling you around the neck. And on that note, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us today. And we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Not sure what it's going to be about yet, but we'll discover it. Also, too,
it's going to be a surprise for everybody. Even us.
Even us. If you have an interesting story that you want to share, by all means, contact either Trevor or myself or Lynda through our Facebook messengers. And let us know that you would like to be a guest on the show and that you have an interesting short story to share, and we will contact you. So thanks everybody again for watching, and we will see you next week. Take care. Bye, Trevor.
Bye.